So what specific methods are you using to treat computer and video gaming addiction?
Well, my treatment involves really three methods: assessment, behavioral therapy, and then psychotherapy. Parents and significant others play a very important role, and they're really a necessary part of treatment. They serve to provide accountability and actually help to monitor and limit use during treatment. Adult clients must consent for full disclosure and involvement of their parents or significant others for it to be successful. In some cases, it requires a family intervention right from the start, but in any case, often parents might need to use their, if they're supporting their adult children, they may need to use their parental authority to really gain compliance from the child in this way.
Wait, what do you mean by adults needing to have parents involved and provide consent?
Well, actually, if you think about it, adolescents, they really don't have any choice. But for adults, they need someone in their life that can help leverage them into treatment. So for young adults, say maybe still living at home, their parents are still supporting them, and they have a great deal of parental authority. In the case of a young couple where one of the spouses is playing or is addicted, they've got the marriage or the relationship at stake, and so the significant other can play a big role as part of treatment. Assessment begins during the first session and is conducted throughout treatment. This involves written questionnaires, structured interviews, and direct measurement of usage. The idea is to identify if the individual is truly addicted and requires behavior therapy, or is the excess computer use symptoms of relationship problems or other mental health issues. I've developed my own criteria based on two categories: amount and patterns of use and the level of impairment. First, I generally see play in excess of 25 to 35 hours a week. The addict is unable to limit their own use, and I typically see a progression to increasing amounts of playtime. Second, there's significant impairment in health, social, academic, or occupational functioning, resulting from three or more of the following issues or behaviors: A, lack of adequate sleep; B, declining personal hygiene; C, school absences or excess sick days at work; D, declining academic or occupational performance; E, reduction in offline activities including social contact; F, irritability, anxiety, and depression symptoms; G, relationship problems and conflict over use; H, lying or secretive use; and I, physical health problems, including weight gain and repetitive stress injuries such as tendinitis or carpal tunnel syndrome. There are also some other common observations that usually confirm the diagnosis, such as when failed attempts by the addict or others to cut back their use, or persistent thoughts about playing the game when they're not using. But I found that educating the client and the family is an important part of the treatment process. One or more family members could essentially not believe in the treatment, be kind of resistant to treatment, or even not even believe that such an addiction exists. And so I think it's very important to educate them on the addiction process and the treatment methods. Motivational interviewing can also play an important role in treatment. It's common in all addiction treatment. However, what I found is it's somewhat difficult in working with the young adolescents because they really don't think they have a problem at all. And I know addiction treatment as usual involves denial, but it's particularly tough with adolescents in terms of if their parents just let them play, everything would be fine. But motivational interviewing is also useful in working with the family members to help comply and support treatment. During the assessment phase, a treatment plan is developed and adjunctive therapy is recommended. This could be medication for depression, anxiety, or OCD, that's obsessive compulsive disorder, or could be referrals for marital counseling. The second part of treatment is behavior therapy. After the assessment, results are presented and goals for treatment and usage are set, typically with both the patient and family. After defining reasonable use, the initial limits can be programmed within the computer's operating system or parental controls. The parents, significant others, or other family members are defined as the custodians of the limit setting. Over an agreed-upon time frame from several weeks to several months, usage is reduced gradually to the final limits. I also recommend that parents give additional time as a kind of a reward for compliance and good attitude. Day-to-day computer use can also be made contingent on completing important day-to-day responsibilities such as homework and chores. Mm-hmm. But I also recommend continuing the limit setting for as long as reasonably possible. And this is important to reduce the chance of relapse. Parents that have followed my advice and I've followed some of those for several years now, have reported their kids going off to college, going to university, totally free of the addiction.
You're a computer engineer and therapist, but how does the average therapist help parents set and maintain these controls?
Well, parents may need a great deal of computer technical support and handholding to ensure the proper parental control settings and security settings for the computers. It's this lack of technical ability that may have led to the addiction in the first place. They may need to be referred to a computer center or to help them on an ongoing basis. So I recommend that therapists partner with a technical service center that can provide on-site service. When I started in 2002, there were really no reliable solutions for parental controls. Um, you know, because of operating system limitations, the parental control software could be easily defeated by pretty much even non-technical children. That's when I saw the need for a strong hardware parental control solution and developed the PC Moderator. It's a physical, conspicuous device that locks on the desktop computer's video port and monitors and limits screen time in various ways. It can't be hacked or removed without risking damage to the computer, and it allows the addict to remain as system administrator with full control of the computer's operating system and applications. Yet the parent or significant other, or in some cases even the therapist, remains the custodian of the device and manages allowed screen time. It only works on PC desktops, but of course I use it whenever possible. Today, there are other options for strong parental controls. Many video games have built-in capabilities. World of Warcraft, for example, has parental controls built into the system. There are several commercially available programs you can install on the computer system to limit the computer or game time, such as NetNanny. Microsoft's New Vista operating system has parental controls built in, with the ability to set allowed usage time range blocks with 1-hour resolution. Just remember that parents or significant others must remain the system administrator of the computer and must install and manage the parental control settings. Have the child or parents maintain a paper and pencil usage log for assessment and also use a kitchen timer or clock. Whether a parental control solution is strong or weak often depends on how tech savvy the parent is versus the child. If the parents aren't too tech savvy, then they may need to rely on the therapist or the technical specialist to help them ensure their solution is strong.
And what can parents do if they're unable to set these parental controls, or say the game console doesn't have adequate parental controls?
Well, if limits can't be successfully maintained and the game results in maintaining the addiction, then it must be removed from the home. Sometimes I make a recommendation to parents that they really don't like to hear, and that's that if they can't reliably set and maintain limits on use with the game console or computer that they have, they may want to consider replacing it with one where limits can be set. Sometimes I'll even suggest that they use an inexpensive desktop with the PC Moderator so that, this is kind of like methadone. You're doing replacement from one thing to another, but at least it gives us the option of continuing on with behavior therapy. Ultimately, if parents can't maintain or set limits for whatever reason, and the child can't tolerate removing the computer from the home, then I think at that point you would want to seek residential or hospitalization treatment.
What role does individual or family therapy have in treatment?
Psychotherapy is the third element of treatment. Family therapy is usually helpful in dealing with years of conflict and distrust that have resulted from the gaming and the excesses. Gaming addiction often polarizes family members, and it can really hurt sibling relations. If you think about it, parents could spend years dealing with this problem of an unreasonable child and the gaming and the struggle and the addiction. So this can really affect sibling relationships.
Sure.
Individual cognitive behavioral therapy, of course, helps in treating depression, anxiety, and relapse issues. And supportive counseling can help boost self-esteem. And then there's academic and career counseling is also helpful, in helping an individual find their success identity. Couples counseling might also be recommended, obviously. But part of therapy, important part, is working to find and reinforce offline activities for the individual that are pleasurable, to replace the gaming time lost during treatment. I use the image of a scale as a symbol to help the individual and family see how life has become out of balance. On one side of what I call the life balance worksheet, the individual lists gameplay and other media activities. On the other side, they list their life's real-world rewards. The individual completes the worksheet, and then we discuss with the individual and their family ways to get life in balance. This scale is periodically reviewed during treatment.
How long does this treatment generally take?
Well, it varies as you can imagine, depending on the individual. Individual or face-to-face therapy could run from weeks to 6 months or more. Um, and setting and maintaining the limits should probably last as long as possible, maybe even for years, even after treatment has ended. Successfully treating the addiction, though, I should point out, may bring up other issues and requiring additional therapy, family, or marital counseling.
How successful have you been using this treatment method?
Well, I wish I could say 100%, but it's helped the majority of my clients. Cutting back playtime to moderated levels is usually a primary goal of treatment. And if that's accomplished along with improvements in academic, occupation, or social functioning, then I look at treatment as a success, even if the limits remain externally imposed. One 17-year-old, as an example, was in the parent-adolescent struggle when his parents called me. He wasn't attending school and wasn't going to return to school until his parents returned the computer. His therapist of 6 months had suggested they take away the computer until his attendance improved and his academics improved for 2 weeks. Well, after a month or 30 days of him not going to school and it not working, his parents decided for a change. So essentially, we started the behavior program immediately, and within a week, he was back in school full time and his use was somewhat moderated.